Hooray for Hollywood.
Yeah, great song, isn't it?
John, where did you get your love of show business?
Oh, me? Going to pantomimes.
Oh?
Going to pantomimes. I love them. That's when they had those big, lavish pantomimes. I think there was always one at the Her Majesty.
Yes.
And one at the Tivoli of late lamented memory. I wish they'd never pulled down the Tivoli.
Yeah.
And I think they used to have one at the Princess as well. But they were always very lavish. They weren't sort of, they had a chorus of people, of dancers. They usually had a well-known variety star of the time starring in a leading role. And, for instance, Jenny Howard, who was a famous performer. She was English originally, came to Australia, was beloved by Australian audiences in variety, and every Christmas she would do a pantomime, usually playing what they call the principal boy. That's if it was Robin Hood, it would be Robin Hood. If it was Prince Charming, she'd be Prince Charming.
Or Jack and the Beanstalk.
She'd play Jack or Aladdin or whatever. Anyway, years and years and years later, she appeared in one of the Mike Walsh Show pantomimes, which was wonderful because it was the first time I ever met her, and I was overwhelmed because here was a star that I'd watched as a little boy, and then I was working with her, and I was absolutely thrilled to bits.
Another I saw in my childhood at the Cathedral Hall in Brunswick Street was Jim Gerald as Mother Goose.
Jim Gerald was a famous pantomime dame, and George Wallace Sr. was a famous pantomime dame as well. There was a whole list of them. Of course, it was a great honour to be the dame in a pantomime. It wasn't doing drag. I mean, they got into dress, but they looked absolutely ridiculous, and that was the point. The dame was always the central character. In later years, the dame became sort of glamorous because I remember seeing Danny LaRue in a pantomime in London, and of course he was the dame, but oh, what a dame. You've never seen so many diamonds and jewels, and, it was fantastic, over-the-top stuff. But, no, it was a great honour to have played the dame.
What took you to Hollywood and...
To get out of Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Simple answer. No, I mean, I started covering Hollywood... I'd been to Hollywood many times, but I started actually covering Hollywood in 1976, the bicentennial year in America, and then working for the Mike Walsh Show, they sent me backwards and forwards and forwards and backwards. So I built up a whole resume of people and contacts and one thing and another, and in the late 80s, I felt that I was a little bit bored with it all. I thought, this is, I need to make a change. And I was talking to a friend of mine who was quite big in the movie business there, and he said, why don't you come and work over here? I said, well, I can't work. I haven't got a green card, and what would I do anyway? He said, don't worry, just come. Everything will happen. And taking an incredible risk, I did. I went and everything did happen. So I was very, it was a gamble because I could have stayed 6 months and come back with, achieving nothing but having a good time. But actually it worked out all right. So once you're living in a place and you enjoy it, it's a bit hard to tear yourself away from it. And
yes.
So that's why the years went by, and I had not a lot of, but a group of very good friends. I have some godchildren there, and I think you're very lucky if you make good friends anywhere in the world. And I had some very good and supportive friends and a beautiful place to live in. I was wonderful. Where I lived in West Hollywood was lovely and beautiful climate, and 3 or 4 little dogs. Life went on. So I was very, very contented there.
You were mainly filing reports and interviews back to Australia for a raft of people, including the Don Lane Show, Mike Walsh.
Yeah, and of course Bert's show on Channel 10.
That's right.
But I did stuff as well. I did stuff for television in other parts of the world. I did Sky News in England, and I did stuff all over the world, which was great. I built up quite a lot of contacts in various places, doing television and radio, and New Zealand, and some stuff in Canada, and some European play markets, and so it was, that kept me on the toes. And of course, once you are an accredited press person in Hollywood, then you don't have to look so much. They find you because they want to get maximum publicity for any product. So if you've got a good circuit that they can use to promote a movie, of course you get invited to everything. So I covered an awful lot of films and events and award nights and Oscars, God knows what, and of course one-on-one interviews with people. So that was terrific, and I really didn't have to look because every day there would be something coming through. Can you do this press junket? Can you do that press junket? Whatever, and of course that's where I made the money. So that's what I did.
John Michael, who were some of the expat Australians you were friendly with over there at the time?
Well, Ashley Irwin, who's the Australians that I knew there, Peter Phelps was there when I was there, of course. He was doing Baywatch. Who else? There was Michael Rymer and his wife Loretta Crawford. Michael went on to be a very successful film director. Rod Hardy, another film director. Ashley Irwin, a movie composer. What I call people behind the scenes. People. I met Anthony Puggy a few times.
Well, Tony Lamont was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tony, of course. Tony and myself were great mates. I mean, we saw a lot of each other, and so there was and then when I was there, now there's a boom in Australians in Hollywood. There are a lot of Australians working in movies. If you go through, what's his name, Baker in The Mentalist, and
Simon Baker.
Yeah, Simon Baker, Naomi Watts, and Anthony, as I said, Anthony Puglia. You go through a list of Australians that are doing very, very well in Hollywood, Julian McMahon and whatever. But when I was there, they were around, but not in the numbers they are now. I mean, there was Nicole Kidman and a few people, but what's happened now, of course, is this big boom. So I tended to see people come into the business and sort of really work very hard. I remember one night going to watch, I think it was the grand final at somebody's house, and Russell Crowe was there, but Russell hadn't got his big break in Hollywood. I mean, Russell was sleeping on their couch, I think, and he spent most of the night on the telephone, wheeling and dealing. And then later, just shortly after that, he got, I think, LA Confidential or whatever. But so he wasn't a star by any stretch at that moment. And I saw when Guy Pearce, who I admire tremendously, I think he's an incredibly good actor, and Guy was sort of his early days there. And I remember Naomi Watts was like, I always say this, when you open the dictionary to the word persistence, there should be a photo of Naomi Watts, because Naomi was incredible. I mean, she was there for a long time before anything happened, and when she got a role in a film called Mulholland Drive.
That's right.
Right, which was the weirdest, strangest film I've ever. I don't know what it was about. In fact, the only reason I went to see it was Ann Miller had a cameo part in it, and I went to see Dear Old Annie, who I loved to death. She was wonderful, and Naomi was in it, and the movie became a sort of a cult favourite. And next thing, Naomi was out there in movie after movie.
Like King Kong, yeah.
Did she wait a long time before she got that break? You have to hand it to anybody that went over and sat it out and really, worked hard to get some sort of recognition. It is the toughest place in the world. So I really admire young people that go over there and get that, today, you take people like, say, the Hemsworth brothers, Liam and Chris.
Oh, yes.
Well, they really went in there with something to do, in the sense that they had quite a career here. Their agents here were working with agents in Hollywood who liked what they saw on the video clips, and they came in. It was a sort of an easier break for some people because they have a very good reputation for doing stuff, and they look good on camera and whatever. But there were some people went over there without any of that and literally had to start from the ground up. And how they do it, how how they did it, I don't know, because for every one bit of encouragement you get 10 failures. So it is very tough.
Why'd you turn your back on Hollywood eventually?
Because I wrote Shout, co-wrote Shout, and when it was being produced, a musical about Johnny O'Keefe. Oh, by the way, thank you for the book about Roy Orbison.
Yeah, I think there's a future in that.
Yeah, I'll have a read of that. Anyway, I did Shout, and I was over here, and then I was over there, and I was over here, and it was very exhausting, I can tell you. So that was it. If it had been a one-hit wonder, I probably wouldn't have moved. But then Dusty came along, and I could see the whole thing looming again of spending half my life in a plane. And I said to my friend Alfie, I said, listen, I think I better relocate to Australia because I've got shows happening, and this is just too hard, all this travel. And you sort of become discombobulated because I couldn't accept stuff there because I thought I'd be in Australia, and then stuff would happen here, and I thought, I'll be in America. So I thought I've got to really realign myself. So that's why I came back and working on shows. And I have a show opening in Perth in October called More Sex Please We're Seniors. That opens for an Australian tour in Perth. It'll be at the Athenaeum next year. Then I've got Dream Lover, which is the story of Bobby Darin, which I wrote with my cousin Frank Howson, and that opens in Sydney about this time next year, and another couple of shows on the plate. So, it was a good move to make. And one of the good things now is you can do a show in Australia that will have international legs. I mean, for instance, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, has been a hit in London and New York, and that's really, really wonderful because it's gone beyond the confines of Australia into the world. Now, Dusty will probably open a national tour in England, in, I think, Leicester next year, and that will then finish up hopefully in London. Dream Lover they're doing here, and there's an American involvement in that, so it could be that Dream Lover will open here, run in here, and then open in America. Yeah. Now, that's really great. I mean, because it's very important that we have shows that have international legs, that have the possibility of playing the world.
And then, of course, a year after, we're expecting the big O, the Roy Orbison tragedy. That'll be like an opera.
Well, Philip, I'll tell the listeners, Philip suggested I do a show about Roy Orbison. We thought about it some time ago, and I think I probably got a bit tired of writing autobiographical musicals. I wanted to do something original, because there's a lot of rules you have to follow doing somebody's life, It's not like you can go off into a tangent of imagination.
No, but you've got the best songs there to choose from.
Yes, that's right. And you've got to use their songs, and you've got to knit their songs into the story, yes, so that they fit properly. That it's not just singing a song. The song has to become part of the story.
Can that be expensive, the rights to those songs?
Oh, they work about on a pro rata basis.
Oh, yeah.
And I must tell you, the case of you take the case of Shout. Most of those songs nobody was singing. I mean, you'd hear them on Magic. About the only place you heard them. And, of course, the publishers were thrilled that somebody wanted to use some of those old songs, because nobody had done them for years. And many people say, nobody would want to see this show, it's all old stuff and whatever. In fact, people loved it because they were hearing those songs, and they were fun songs.
Well, Bruce and I loved that show, especially the bandstand scenes.
Wasn't it fun?
Oh, great.
Yeah,
very good.
Well, the same with Dusty. I mean, the Dusty, it was amazing. We didn't have a cast album here, more's the pity. I don't know why that didn't happen, but anyway, in the lobby, they were selling at the merchandise counter Dusty Springfield albums. They sold thousands of them. Thousands. As people came out from the show, they bought a Dusty Springfield album. So, publishers record companies are very happy. You can imagine how many records they sold with Mamma Mia.
Oh,
thousands.
Through the roof.
How many records did they sell with Jersey Boys?
Yes.
You know, so it gives a performer a really great boost. Now, Rhonda Birchmore is doing the Julie London thing. Now, Julie London was probably a forgotten item, and yet one of the great singers of the 50s, absolutely. And I would imagine that they will be selling Julie London albums, and they'll probably sell a lot of them.
Yes, it will be a resurgence of interest.
Well, I think you'd be pretty tired after your Sunday morning start, a very early start for you today.
I work it in. Not a problem. Well, 10 o'clock's not an early start, Bruce.
Thank you so much for tonight.
Thank you very much.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
In profile, John Michael Hollywood Howson.
Mum.